Good evening. It is 7:31. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Norwalk Common Council for August 8th, 2023. Do please rise and join me in pledging allegiance to our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Dixon, if you please call the roll.
Mr. Burnett,
Present.
Mr. Camacho,
Present.
Mr. Goldstein,
Here.
Ms. Najolski Eichner,
Present.
Ms. Smith. Here. Ms. Ayers. Present. Mr. Ubelman,
Present.
Ms. Revoluz,
Present.
Ms. Young. Here. Mr. Kaides. Ms. McMurray,
Present.
Ms. Alterman, Mr. Meek,
Here.
Ms. Shanahan, Mr. Frere,
Here.
Mr. Kaides, Ms. Alterman, Ms. Shanahan. We have 12. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, the acceptance of the minutes of the regular meeting of July 25th, 2023. Do I have a motion? Mr. Burnett, are there any corrections, deletions, or omissions? Being none, all in favor of approving the minutes as submitted?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ms. Ayers abstains.
And also.
I'm sorry, Mr. Meek as well. Next, we have public participation. Mr. Manzi, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address the council? No. Mr. Manzi, is there anybody watching virtually that wishes to address the council?
If anyone would like to address the council now, please raise your hand electronically. I see no one. No one with their hand raised, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to the mayor's comments. We are very pleased to announce, as most of you probably know by now, that for the 23rd year in a row, the city obtained a AAA bond rating from all the rating agencies. So the ratings were assigned before the city's bond sale scheduled for today, which we had. Where $70 million per capital obligation bonds will issue, will be priced. Proceeds will be used to fund many of the capital projects that have been approved by the council for repairing our infrastructure, paving our roads, and going towards the new schools and various other things. July 30th, as you know, we held the first Sono Farmers Market at Ryan Park. Didn't get a chance to make it. Don't worry, because we're going to have one this coming Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You'll find the best locally made seasonal produce, baked goods, gifts, crafts, and more. We attended last week, 2 weekends ago, and it was actually a very nice time and really much appreciated down in the Ryan Park area. Yesterday was National Purple Heart Day, where we had a ceremony recognizing and paying honor and to all those who have received the Purple Heart since it was first issued in 1872. I'm sorry, 1782. And we had a ceremony over at Vets Park where we have the Purple Heart monument, where I believe it was 216 people in Norwalk have been awarded the Purple Heart for their injuries, some posthumously. And on recreation parks, we have the master plan hearing tomorrow at 6:15. It's going to be a virtual public hearing. Public will have the last opportunity to share comments on the final draft of the recreation parks master plan. The process of developing a long-term vision for the city's recreation park system began way back in 2022. And the process included a focus group with community leaders, stakeholders, interested citizens, 3 community meetings, and public participation. Final draft includes input from the community, has helped the city determine the appropriate number of amenities for the community and enhance the experience for all residents. You can see the draft of the master plan on the city website. Having done all of that, and I bring it to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before we move to the consent calendar, just wanted to announce that tomorrow, the Charter Revision Committee, Charter Revision Commission will be concluding their work. And at 6 o'clock PM, notices have gone out, and I encourage the public to attend that meeting and share any comments that they might have as it relates to the charter revision work, which they've done a fantastic job in terms of going through the entire document and bringing it up to date, so that it's a workable, readable document. So with that, the consent calendar will be read tonight by Councilmember Nicole Ayers.
Thank you, Mr. President. 7A, Public Safety and General Government Committee. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rayleigh, to execute any and all agreements, documents, instruments, and amendments thereto as may be necessary for the city of Norwalk to sell a fire department rescue boat on public surplus, a public auction website at a starting bid of $300,000. 2, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rayleigh, to execute a contract with Major or Construction, Inc. for the Meadows Street Fire Station, Station 5 bathroom renovation for a total not to exceed $84,560. Account noted. Authorize the fire department to issue change orders on contracts for a total not to exceed $3,440. Account noted. 4, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rayleigh, to execute any and all agreements, documents, instruments, and amendments thereto as may be necessary for the city of Norwalk to sell a police department RIB response vessel on public surplus, a public auction website at a starting bid of $10,000. 5, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order for Colonial Mutual Automotive Group, CMG, for the purchase of 10 2023 Chevy Police Package utility vehicles under the collective purchasing of the Greater Boston Police Council for an amount not to exceed $453,000. Account noted. 6, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Colonial Municipal Automotive Group for the purchase of 2024 Chevrolet 3500 HD utility crew cab pickup truck under the collective purchasing of the Greater Boston Police Council for an amount not to exceed $53,000. Account noted. 7, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Fleet Auto Supply LLC for emergency lighting and upfit for 10 police utility vehicles and 1 Chevy crew cab utility pickup for an amount not to exceed $240,000. Account noted. 7B, Public Works Committee. 1, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rayleigh, to execute an 8th amendment to the August 28th, 2007 amendment for the professional engineering services between the city of Norwalk and A. DeCesar Associates PC regarding the East Ave reconstruction project for an amount not to exceed $65,000 in accordance with the attached scope of services dated July 24, 2023. Accounts noted. Authorize the purchasing agent to issue an increase to the sole source purchase order to FLT Geosystems for the upgrade to their survey equipment for an amount not to exceed $5,200. Account noted. 3, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rayleigh, to execute a 4th amendment to the original agreements with HW Large for design and coordination services dated September 29, 2016 in connection with the Walk Bridge Program, State Project NOS 201-0176, 301-0188, 301-0187, I 202-297, 301-180 for a total sum not to exceed $265,656.46. State share. Accounts noted. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Railing, to execute a Fifth Amendment to the Wardward and Kern Agreement dated August 12, 2019, to provide professional engineering services for flood remediation at a specific location in accordance with Professional Service Task Order 23A dated July 10th, 2023, for a sum not to exceed $95,000. Accounts noted. Technical correction of the Common Council, technical corrections of the Common Council action of April 13, 2021, item 7, Roman numeral 7.C.5, and April 12, 2022, item Roman numeral 7.C.I, to add accounts designated for the Walk Bridge Project -30301-0515 NP project, including the PAL enclosed with the agenda whereby the city of Norwalk will transfer funds in the amount of $3,750,000 on May 30th, 2021, $1,875,000 on July 1, 2022, and $1,875,000 on July 1, 2023, to fund the undergrounding of utility lines on East Ave from Fort Point Street to Olmsted Place, to be performed by the Connecticut Department of Transportation. Accounts noted. 7, technical correction of the Common Council action of October 11, 2022, item Roman numeral 7.B.8, to add accounts designated for on-call services. Accounts noted. 8A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Railing, to execute an agreement sole source with FJB Construction Company for project STR 2023-I Emergency Wall Street Retaining Wall and Sidewalk Abatement for a sum not to exceed $159,820. Accounts noted. Authorize the Chief of Operations and Public Works to exclude orders on contracts with a FGB Construction Company for project STR 2023-I Emergency Wall Street Retaining Wall and Sidewalk Abatement for a sum not to exceed $15,982. Account noted. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Railing, to execute an agreement with Woods Men's and Boys Clothing for project number 4087 for a sum not to exceed $25,000 for fiscal year 2023-24, with an option to extend for 2 additional items of 1 year each. Account noted. 10, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Railing, to execute a license agreement in favor of the state of Connecticut Department of Transportation for installing and maintaining a guide wire within a 5 by 15 feet area at 10 Seaview Avenue. 7D, land use and building management. 1A, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order with Omnidata LLC for security cameras enhanced at Brookside, Fox Run, Kendall, Marvin, Nearmac, Rowayton, Silvermine, Sono, Wolf Pit, Birmingham High School for a total not to exceed $261,451.70. Account noted. 1B, authorized to establish a contingency for additional services as may be required for a total not to exceed $24,864.46. Account noted. 3, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Integrate Systems Service LLC for the enhancement to school security access control improvement at Fox Run, Marvin, Nearmac, Nathan Hale, NECC, Ponas, Rowayton, West Rock schools for a total not to exceed $196,561. Account noted. The ending of the consent calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Ash. You've heard the reading of the consent calendar. I'll call for the question. All those in favor, show by a sign of aye, raising your hand or verbally.
Aye.
All those opposed have the same right. Any abstentions? The consent calendar is approved as read.
Mr. Meek abstains.
Abstain? Yeah. Okay, thank you. So the consent calendar is approved as read, and back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now we go to item 7A8, Ms. McMurray.
Thank you, Mayor. 7A8 reads as authorize the Mary W. Rilling to execute a agreement with the option of 2 one-year extensions with Everything Parking, Inc., DBA Cross Safe for project 4280 for a total net not to exceed $388,000, account number noted. I would like to move this item and speak to it for a moment, please.
Yes, you have the floor.
So this is something that the police department has overseen, hired for, trained for, and provided for, and scheduled for our schools. It's all the school crossing guards. And in the past, we've ran into issues where whenever a crossing guard would call out sick for one reason or another, the police were in charge of replacing them, sometimes last minute, with a police officer, which can oftentimes lead to overtime costs. So we've been looking into outsourcing the school crossing guards to a company, which this is implying, to outsource it so they are in charge of hiring, training, and providing more schedules to take that off of the police department's plate and negate the fact that we would have then police officers working overtime in the case of somebody calling out. So we have Chief James Walsh here this evening to answer any questions and speak further to this. So I'd like to turn it over to him.
Good evening, Mayor Rilling and Common Council. I'll start off if any council member has any questions. I do have some prepared points.
Any questions for Chief Walsh relative to the outsourcing of the school crossing guards?
Yeah, I just have a quick question.
Mr. Camacho.
The account that this money's would be coming from, is that a police department account?
Yes, it is. It's under our Community Services Division account.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
I think
Sorry?
I think that the chief wanted to speak to more.
Oh.
More comments. I believe.
Oh, I didn't see anybody raise their hand.
Oh.
The chief or the chief?
Sure. I have some prepared points. Yeah, last year's operating budget for the school crossing guard program was approximately $240,000. That did not factor in the overtime variable of daily replacements when the school crossing guard calls out sick. And we have to place them with a patrolman on an overtime rate or actually pull them off the road. From the beginning of the school year, we averaged 2 to 3 a day. When the weather was inclement or cold, sometimes we averaged 4 to 6. So that would mean we'd have to hire 4 to 6 police officers at the end of shift or find 4 to 6 police officers, patrolmen. Mostly, and this occurs at the 3 o'clock hour, so it's very difficult at shift change to man these. So a lot of times we're ordering officers in on overtime to cover all these posts for at least 30 or 90 minutes. So that created a huge overtime, which increased the cost of our operating budget well over $240,000. In this year's operating budget, we asked for the privatization program with a budget of $389,000. This is an all-encompassing program in which the company recruits, hires, trains, equips, manages, and responsible for every facet of the program. They are also responsible for standby guards to replace when absentees occur. In privatization of all these responsibilities, it will free up the daily job duties of the community services sergeant who was managing the program. If we were to quantify the time of the sergeant on a yearly basis with the management responsibilities, the equipment, hiring, and daily managing, the proposed privatization is not a huge overall increase. The privatization of the school crossing program was a recommendation of the efficiency study conducted by the city in 2021, 2022. This proposal was also approved through the Finance and Bet committees once the reasoning was articulated in the budget approval process. Also, the school crossing guards will be receiving a slight increase of pay from the current rate of $15 an hour to $17 an hour, which will attract more candidates. And our plan is to also, when this program is finally approved, is to onboard many of the existing school crossing guards if they're still interested in the program, and then the company will find and recruit more guards. There has also been a growing demand for school crossing guards by the Transportation Director of Norwalk Public Schools. When they have noticed an increase in students who walk to school, we have expanded the program by 3 guards since last year due to this increase. We should expect more with the expansion of current schools, the construction of the new Sono School, and as foot traffic increases. The staffing increase has also increased the cost proposal with the privatization.
Thank you, Chief. Now, do we have any further questions? Comments? Ms. Young?
I'm sorry, Mr. Freire had his hand up. Oh, I'll go first. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you, Chief Walsh. And I'm glad to hear that this was this came out of the study, and that we are still looking at that and trying to do all the things that we need to do within the city to increase our efficiency. So I'm glad that is something that you all were looking towards and we were able to implement.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Mr. Freire?
Yes, I just wanted to comment that when I was on the BET, I remember this item did come up in the budget. And at that time, I thought it was a brilliant idea. This is not a job for police officers to be out there and, helping kids cross the street, albeit it's a noble thing to do, don't get me wrong. But I think this is an ideal way to solve an issue.
Further comment or discussion? Questions? Seeing none? Okay.
Excuse me,
Okay.
Mayor. I apologize.
Okay. If you raise your hand electronically, it puts you up at the top of the screen so I can see it.
Oh, sorry, I was
Mr.
actually
Joseph
raising my
Eichner.
hand in person. Yes, less helpful. Just to confirm, Chief Walsh, these the current crossing guards do not receive a pension for this work, correct? This is just a part-time job?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not, so in essence, we are actually increasing the benefits available to them if they choose to work for the new company that we hire.
Yes, we're increasing their pay. Yes.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you. It seems like a win-win for everybody.
Any further comments or questions? Okay, I don't see any. So all in favor of the item?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have Public Works, Ms. Smith.
Yes, item six, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Alta Enterprises LLC for the purchase of one Vantage LIB 9D6 cab pickup for a sum not to exceed $45,700, account number noted. I would like to move that and just say a quick couple of words that this is an all-electric vehicle that will be used for the Clean Street Ambassador is going to be using this. We have our Chief of Public Works, Vanessa Valadares, here, as well as Chris Torrey, who is our Director of Operations, to tell us about this great purchase of an electric vehicle.
Mr. Torrey.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. This is a vehicle that's expanding our fleet, not our fleet, but our electric program. Look at myself. The truck is electric. There was a discrepancy in the pricing in bids. One was much higher. I just want to clarify that discrepancy was because the company with the higher bid did not offer a no frills electric vehicle, which this is. It doesn't have heat, it doesn't have air conditioning. It's our Clean Streets Ambassador vehicle. Recently, we have walk behind sweepers that are electric that sweep the streets. We have electric backpack blowers that we used for line striping. And this is just one more piece of an expanding electric program that DPW is undertaking.
Thank you, Mr. Torrey. Any questions or comments? Ms. Najewski-Eichner, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank the Department of Public Works for this, as you've heard me say many times, I think it is past time that we move to an electric fleet on our regular sized vehicles. And I'm very excited for this opportunity for DPW to experiment with an electric sized vehicle, which actually is in the pickup range, so not even in our car range. And I hope that this really will be the beginning of a rapid expansion or turnover in our fleet to all electric vehicles wherever possible. And I really appreciate the work DPW has already undertaken to begin this transition. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Smith.
Yeah, just quickly, I'd like to add to that, and I would like to very much commend the Public Works Department and our chief, who you're just doing such a great job, and you really hear us when we talk about the importance of electric vehicles for the future. With the climate change we're just hearing, it's getting so bad, and the fact that you've also added some electric leaf blowers, you're just doing a really great job. So I thank you very much for your work.
Ms. Young.
I just want to say, echo what my colleagues have said, and just, we've had a lot of conversations about electric vehicles and switching over our fleets, and it's taken longer than a lot of people think it should take, but we are in line with technology, and as technology increases, we hope to be able to increase our fleet the same way. And I think when we have folks like Vanessa Valderes and others in recreation parks, and just all of us who are very mindful of that, I think that we will move forward as the technology moves forward in that fashion. And so we're on our way, and we just want to let the public know that we are listening. We have very passionate council members who believe in this, and so we're starting. And so kudos to everybody who's been involved.
Any further comments? I would like to commend all the department heads. We are currently and constantly searching for new opportunities to reduce our carbon footprint. And that's first and foremost on the mind, I believe, of not only every member of this council and I, but others within the departments who listen to what we're saying and are looking for these different things that we can, again, reduce our carbon footprint. One of the things we're looking at is a solar canopy over part of our fire parking lot. And I think that'll go a long way, because that'll have some drop down electric vehicle charging stations on it as well. So again, we're looking for those opportunities, and I commend everybody for keeping this first and foremost in their mind. So now I'll take a vote on that unless there's any further comment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Mr. Meek is opposed, and there's no abstentions. Hey, I think that brings us to 7C1, Mr. Hulaman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll give my colleague, councilperson Nicole Ayers, a moment.
Thank you. I need to recuse myself from this item.
Oh, okay. Please let the record show that Ms. Ayers has recused herself from this item.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to read the item and then speak to it. Community Services C1, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Lee, to execute any and all documents or amendments as may be necessary to disperse the Community Impact Mini Grant Program funding to support smaller nonprofits allocated to the Community Services Department in the amount of $150,000, account number noted. I just want to say that this is a wonderful program that I believe we're stepping off on, and it shows a commitment to working with our smaller not-for-profits and agencies within the city to help bring them into sustainability and being able to work and provide services within our community. To that end, we have with us tonight Ms. Ana Vivian Estrella, who is the Human Services Director. We also have Ms. Latoya Fernandez, who is our DEI officer, and Latonia Russell Humes of the Fairfield County Community Foundation. She's the Vice President of Grants and Programs, and they were responsible for dealing with the application process and the submittal process and review of this. And Ms. Estrella is going to speak a little bit about the program.
Miss Ana Vivian Estrella.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving me the time and space to talk about this great program. So as most of you know, if not all of you, during the ARPA session last year, We heard a cry from the community that we needed to make opportunities available for smaller nonprofits that weren't prepared to take on a federal or state grant like the ARPA monies, but still needed support from our community services and our budgets where we can extend smaller infusions of money. And so this community impact mini grant was born out of that community need. And so what we were targeting was nonprofits that make under $1 million organization wide. So it's really smaller nonprofits because, as we all know, in order to carry a nonprofit, they tend to have a lot of expenses, and you have a couple of salaries and you're already over $1 million. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not a lot. And 75% were actually under 552,000. So we're really talking about small organizations that put in for this opportunity. We received 40 applications. With the proposed funding, we would be able to provide full and partial funding for what their requests were for 20 of them. So we would be able to fund 50% of the applicants under the way that we structured it. It was an amended process. So the application was 2 pages. The panel, which I was a part of with Latoya Fernandez and Latanya, we really tried our hardest to make sure that we were as equitable as possible. We tried to be helpful in the process. So when we received questions, we answered their questions. And I know Chief Officer Lamont Daniels also made himself available. So we made a concerted effort to make this as attainable as possible for the intended target. I don't want to belabor the point, but I do also want to make sure that I answer any questions that you may have regarding the applicants. They really ranged everything from equipment to expand a pantry to direct services for children with special needs. So you couldn't even categorize them in one category, honestly, but our 3 focus points that we had was education, so supports, enrichment, and then we also had health, both medical and mental health, and safety nets. So those pieces of our community where we don't necessarily have a specific program that lends itself. So there are programs that applied for this opportunity that fit in all 3 of those categories. Is there any questions?
Ms. Smith.
I don't have a question, but I would like to make a few comments. Ana Vivian, I'd really like to thank you for your leadership throughout this process on these grants, and for the whole Community Services Department for hearing the community and addressing those needs, all the way down to giving them the tools, giving these small organizations the tools in which to write the grants, because that can be really overwhelming. So I just thank you so much for your work around this.
Thank you. And I would be remiss, and I'm sorry, I just have to make note of this. I was trying to be brief, but the Fairfield Community Foundation really gave an opportunity where the nonprofits were able to sign up to have access to a grant writer and get feedback and get information. And so I mean, I think we've done a lot to prepare, and this is in addition to what other community providers did, an educational series, educational platform to prepare the nonprofits for this opportunity. But sorry, thank you for reminding me of that. And I would, like I said, I really just want to give Fairfield County Community Foundations the respect it deserves for making that possible for the applicants that took advantage of it.
Mr. Goldstein, and then
I was just going to cast, I completely echo what my colleagues have said. This is a valuable program and a valuable service. I'm just curious, of the 40 who applied, how many of them had never sought a grant from the city before or had never engaged in the grant process at all before?
I don't want to mislead you. We didn't ask any questions regarding whether they had applied for grants before. But what I can speak to is that some of the nonprofits that applied were formed this very year. So I imagine that they hadn't had the opportunity to apply for a lot of grants. So had we asked that question, I'm sure we would have received varied responses. But there was a number that you could tell, right? Like, it was handwritten as opposed to a type grant application. And Latanya, if you want to speak to it, because this is her space, this is her world. She's a professional and she lended her time to this process. And there's things that she indicated and that as a panel, we recognize were tall tale signs of people that were doing this for their first time, or where it was really a one-man show or two-man show or woman, whoever it is, but a small team making this effort to really try to get ahead and do these grassroots efforts and applying for this opportunity. But I can't give you specific numbers.
That's
if you
okay.
didn't ask.
That's totally okay. I think that your answer speaks to the fact that this is a service for a lot of people who are trying to provide service to our community. And this is learning how to do this is complicated. And I mean, I know I've seen these applications before and they are quite complex. So you provide a valuable service, and for that, you and everyone who worked on this project should be commended.
Mr. Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last year, in 2022, we implemented a grant distribution program. And I'd like to really commend the Community Services Chief Lamont Daniels and his entire team, because they looked at what we did last year. They looked at what worked, what did not work as well. And they made the necessary pivots in order to have a more successful program. And that's what we have this year. We heard from the community that we needed to focus on the small organizations that have a true impact within the Norwalk community. And that's exactly what we did. So even though the amounts that the organizations are giving out on paper may not seem like a lot, to these small organizations, they can be very transformative. They can make a major impact in the services that they provide to Norwalk residents. So again, I want to commend the entire team for listening and not only listening, but then acting and bringing forward a very successful program this year and hopefully for years to come. So thank you for your efforts.
Thank you so much.
Further comment? Mr. Hooverman.
Yes, I just would like to echo what my colleagues have said, but also to say thank you to Anna Vivian, to Chief Daniels, to Latoya and Latonia, the work that you guys did on this and the pivots, the sort of course corrections that were made to come up with this program the way it is. I'm looking forward to success of this program down the line, because I think it's important, and it's an important piece of the puzzle of who we are in Norwalk. And again, I just want to say thank you for the work that you've done.
Thank you.
Further comments? I echo everything everybody said. So thank you, and I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So we have Mr. Meek opposed and Miss Ayers has recused herself. Mr. Meek?
No, he's a yes.
He was a yes vote, I believe.
Mr. Meek?
Yeah, I'm a yes vote without conflict. Thank you.
Okay, next, I'm waiting for Miss Ayers.
Ms. Ayers back in.
Okay. Thank you. Let the record show that Ms. Ayers has returned to the council. And we now have item 72, Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 2, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order with Mutual Link Inc. for emergency response system at all Norwalk Public Schools for a total not to exceed $723,800. Account numbers noted. Just like to make a little introduction here and then turn this over to Ryan Harold, our safety and security supervisor with Norwalk Public Schools.
Okay.
Tonight, all of the items under land use and building management have been around school safety. The items on the consent calendar were the security camera enhancements and 24-hour exterior door monitoring. This item is an emergency response system with Mutual Link that will deploy two-way radio gateway and floor plan video sharing, and is a gateway to instantly and securely share encrypted multimedia from the schools to local and state police and other responders in the event of an emergency. There is some sensitivity around this school security. And so I would just like to turn this over to Mr. Harold to talk more about this program and how we are securing the safety of our kids.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, council members and Mr. Mayor. As you all know, we've been investing a lot of money into our infrastructure in terms of cameras, door alarms, communication systems. Mutual Link is the tool that brings it all together. So whether it's our cameras overlaid by our floor plans in our building, digitizing our radio communication systems, and then integrating that with our Raptor emergency management tool. This is really what brings it all together. We currently have systems that do link multiple facets of our security systems, but many of them are laborious and the next step isn't triggered until a human activates it. So Mutual Link is a program that was provided to many cities throughout the state, all that have colleges within town. Because we have NCC here, it was provided to the Newark Police Department, and then obviously trickled down to us to make use of this as well. So again, really last year in Newark Public Schools, we had over 70 emergencies that were activated in Raptor that had elicited some level of response from first responders. Again, many of them minor, but the way this would work is once we activate Raptor, 911 operations at the local level, and God forbid we needed state support, would have instant access to our radio communications, our Raptor communications, as well as a live feed of our cameras to know what they're doing within the building before first responders even get there. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have about Mutual Link.
Thank you. Do you have any questions or any comments? Mr. Huberman.
I just simply want to say thank you for the work that you've been doing on all of these security enhancements and, you know, the work towards the safety of our kids. It's sad that it has become such an important part of our daily lives, but I'm glad that Norwalk is taking the, you know, a really proactive stance on this. And so thank you for the work, and I think this is a great item.
Thank you.
Further comment, discussion, questions? Mr. Meek.
Thank you. What are the annual operational costs of this? And does that go to the local school budget or does the city pick that up? Thanks.
So within the requested amount, this would be a 3-year license agreement. And then within those 3 years, we would work it into the school's local budget and not ask the city to pick up the licensing costs.
Thank you. Any further comments or discussion? I think this is important to note that we're trying to do everything that we possibly can to keep our students feeling safe, letting the parents feel safe when their children are away and in school. I notice we're enhancing the camera systems, emergency response system. I know that working with Chief Walsh, I've had discussions with him relative to hiring extra patrols during the school year, so that they can patrol different schools and be on the grounds at various different times to have that police presence, so that, again, just an added level of security that we need to provide. And we want to make sure that our parents and our children feel safe. So having seen all that or said all that, any further comments? And if not, I'll call the vote. Mr. Meek, I'm sorry, you have a comment?
Yeah, no, just a comment. I mean, respectfully, I'm a no vote on this, and it's not that school security isn't important. It's just that we have been dumping millions and millions of this over the years. It would be nice to have an end game where we have a total system in place in the same time where we're reducing SROs at these schools. You know, I hope the technology will replace the manpower, but it doesn't really seem like we're that serious on the manpower and just throwing more and more money at technology, which somebody at the end of the day still has to monitor. That's why I'm going to vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no further discussions. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? The records show that we have 11 in favor and 1 opposed. Mr. Meek is opposed. With no further business to come before the council.
Motion to adjourn.
Ms. Revolution makes a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 8:16. Thank you to all the council for your hard work.